This time I'm gonna review my current favorite IM. Even though maybe you have seen a lot of my reviews, I have reviewed a very cheap IM starting for maybe $10, and then my most expensive ones is around $3,000. It's not that expensive, but yeah, I will explain to you why this is my current favorite IM. So hello and welcome to AfterSound Review, and this is my review for Sennheiser Ie600. And thank you for Bassaudio for actually supporting me with this review unit. And this IM costs around $700 in some of the Europe countries, but in Asian countries, I don't know why, but it seems a little bit more higher, maybe around $1,000 to $1,100. I don't know why there's a price difference, but that's exactly what's happening around here. But nevertheless, I'm gonna break down this review from the build, fit, frequency, response, sound, and comparison. Sennheiser is boasting their material for the housing because it is said that they are using zirconium alloy from HERAEUS AMLOY technology that is also used in the head of the drilling head of a NASA Mars rover. So yeah, it's a very durable material, and it's made from 3D printing machine that is using metal powder. It is said that this material is also definitely stronger than steel. Wow, that's such a huge claim, but I'm not gonna lie, it does feels durable, but let's see how long it's gonna last. It feels really durable, and it somehow has this kind of grainy texture, but still smooth overall. But the nozzle part is actually not made of the same material. I bet this is a plastic, and the nozzle itself is kind of short. But the thing that I don't like about this Sennheiser Ie600 is about the cable. From the connector, ear guide, even the cable itself, it feels not up to the overall material of this great housing, because starting from the MMCX itself, actually this is a proprietary MMCX. Let me show you. This is another cable that I got with the Sennheiser Ie600. This is their proprietary MMCX, and this is the usual MMCX from my T2 Plus IM. And you could see that it somehow has this kind of a little bit protruding part, so it's a little bit longer than the usual MMCX. But that small difference somehow making any of my MMCX cable cannot fit this Sennheiser. So that's a little bit of concern maybe for some of you that is preparing maybe a third-party cable for this Sennheiser Ie600. You cannot do that because that has a little bit difference in their MMCX. And then also the ear guide itself is using this. You can see this part. Yes, you get somehow, I don't know, kind of barb. But the thing is, because you can shape them, but the shape will almost looks like it will return to the original form. So yeah, every time I use them, I need to bend them again and again. And the cable itself is kind of, it's not really smooth, it's not really flexible, it's kind of microphonics too. So the amazing quality about this IM is mostly about the housing. And also one thing that I don't really like, it's about their ear tips, because their default ear tips is their default silicone ear tips. I hope you could see with this flashlight, there's a layer of foam there. Yep, it's definitely different, and using other third-party kind of ear tips will somehow give a little bit of treble spiciness, but actually I like that better, thankfully. But using this material, yeah, you cannot find this kind of ear tips easily. Regarding the ergonomics, like I have said before, that I don't like their stock ear tips, because somehow it feels really flabby and it's easily collapsed around the umbrella part of this ear tips. So it keeps easily changed in my ears. So personally, I would recommend some ear tips like the Vinyl Audio Type E or this Acoustin AAT08 that I'm using, because it's somehow really good when you're using them with this Ie600. And when it comes to the ergonomics, I feel that the most comfortable part is mostly because of the housing, because of the shape and the because how small it is, you can see that it fits perfectly into my ears right here. But I hate the ear guide really, because whenever I try to clamp my ears with this ear guides using its wire, it keeps on turning back again and again when I'm using when I have using them for maybe around 1 hour or 2 hours. It will always get a little bit like this. It will stretch its position again. So yeah, I don't really like that part. And the cable itself is quite microphonic. So yeah, I like the housing. I really like the housing in terms of durability and also the ergonomics, but I hate the cable. I don't know why they're using this kind of cable. First of all, I'd like to appreciate the quality control and the channel matching of this IM is simply 99.9% perfect, because as you could see that when I'm measuring them using the AET-08 ear tips or the vinyl audio type E, it's perfectly matched. But using their stock tips, it's somehow a little bit different. But I'm guessing maybe because there's a different foam density, or maybe some trouble with the foam that is foam layer in the ear tips. But nevertheless, for me the matching is amazing. Okay, when it comes to the overall frequency response shape, I would say that this is definitely still kind of U-shaped or maybe V-shaped for some people. As you could see that the main emphasis is mostly on the bass. Somehow you could see that really good bass extension, and it's quite big. If you're looking at the frequency response alone, it's quite big. And then the treble is mainly on the mid to high treble, but the lower treble is not really pronounced. And the vocal section, I mean the mid-range section, is mostly somehow a neutral if you are using an IEF neutral as your standard. So somehow I would say that this kind of frequency response is still a U-shape or simply a V-shape maybe for some people. Before explaining about the sound of this IE600, I need to tell you about just a little bit of flashback. In some reviews and live question and answer before, I have told a lot of you that in my hearing, for me the dynamic driver is still a single dynamic driver is still the most natural sounding driver that I ever heard, and that stays even until now. Even though there's a lot of hybrid option and even there's tribrid using the electrostatic driver, but in terms of overall realistic sound and a more natural timbre, for me single dynamic driver is always the best. That's why even though I have a lot of quite expensive IEMs, but I'm still keeping my Tantiem Oxygen here, because for me it's simply still my most natural IEM, even though technically not as competent as the other IEMs, but in terms of naturality it's one of my most natural IEMs. And then even though I still have this Sony IR-M9 that costs around $1,000, for me it's still not as natural as the Tantiem Oxygen, even though it has much better technicalities and overall separation and imaging. But in terms of naturalness, when I'm hearing songs, I still feel that there are times that I go back to the Tantiem Oxygen because of how I want that naturalness to come back. And then there comes planar IEMs that has this coherency of a single dynamic driver, but it performs in terms of resolution as good as hybrid drivers. Just for notes, personally I don't really like hybrid drivers, because whenever I hear them there's always this kind of different timbre going on with a lot of music. So I feel that there's always this kind of incoherency, you might say it, for a hybrid or tribrid. That's why personally I like either it's only multiple just balancer material like this Sony IR-M9, or just a single dynamic driver like the Tantiem Oxygen. But planar, it has a coherency of a single dynamic driver, but it has resolution of like a multiple or maybe hybrid drivers. That's why I thought that the planar is simply the future. but it just have this kind of maybe just a little bit of homework, because they're still not as natural sounding as some of the dynamic drivers I am. Somehow that maybe because of that fast transient speed, I feel that they are still not as natural as the dynamic drivers. But there comes the Sennheiser Ie600. It still sounds as natural as this titanium oxygen, but it has even better resolution and overall technical better than this planers like the 700 Timeless or the Shure S12. So yeah, this is just what I'm looking for. It's just crazy how good it is and how Sennheiser changed my mind about how dynamic driver could be really pushed to this kind of sound. It's really a capable IM. Let's talk about it starting from the bass. For me, the bass is just really deep, it's punchy, and trust me, it doesn't sound as big as the frequency response suggests. It depends on your depth of fit also. Personally, I never use them really deep into my ears because personally I'm not a bass head. So, but it always gives this kind of a deep bass sound that is also quite fast. So whenever you want to play maybe like rock music using double pedal, or even some just simply your daily pop music, it always gives you a very high quality bass that goes really deep. With you get that bouncy texture of the dynamic driver also, but you get a very high speed. That's what I love about this Sennheiser Ie600. Starting from the bass, I really love it. And the mid-range, I gotta say that it's not really recessed. I wouldn't say it's recessed. It's still like in the middle of the overall sound presentation, but it's simply the bass and treble is just a little bit forward, but I wouldn't say that it's overly recessed. And what I like about the mid-range is about the balancing, because whenever I hear instrumentals like piano and guitar and even human vocals for female and male vocals, it always stays natural. I never find it shouty, I never find sibilance in them. It's just overall really a balanced mid-range. But the treble after the mid-range is the thing that I somehow find really impressive, because it's energetic, it is sparkling, it's definitely really extended right there, but that brilliance never goes metallic. It is just a, I don't know how to say it again, but I just love the treble. The treble is just right there, it's sparkling, it is fast, it is really detailed, but it never hurts my ears. It never hurts my ears. No matter what kind of song I put for this Ie600, it always find its way to sound sparkling, bright, but never goes metallic, never goes unnatural for me. So just talking about the tonality, it's essentially perfect for me because it's energetic, it's fun. You get that bass, you get that really balanced mid-range, and you get that energetic treble that goes really high but never goes over. That's just amazing for me. The tonal balance is just simply my favorite amongst all of IM that I've tried. I'm not exaggerating here, that's just how good the tonal is. But the problem maybe comes with we talk about the technical, because it's still a single dynamic driver that needs somehow quite a good depth of insertion depth. So you see that it goes quite deep into my ears. So in terms of physical thing, it just goes really quite deep into your ears, and it doesn't have a really lot of space to give you that good soundstage, because soundstage, yes, soundstage also comes from physicality, I believe. And the soundstage of this IEM, maybe we are talking about $700 if we are comparing them with the Moondrop S8 or maybe the Clairvoyance. I would say that this is the smallest one. It's the smallest one, and also it doesn't feel as separated as those IM with the multiple drivers. Because just imagine this, imagine a really good speaker that sounds complete from top to bottom and sounds really natural, but no matter what, it's just two speakers coming to you, just a right and left channel, but it's a really good speaker. But imagine, but there's some other brand that that offers you same price, but it's made of set of speakers. You get a treble speaker, you get tweeter, and you get bass, you get subwoofer, and then you go that mid-range speaker. So you got a lot of speakers, but individually that doesn't sound as good as the two speakers that I'm talking about first. But they sound more separated. No matter how good that two speaker is, it still sound not as separated as this set of speakers. That's why I get better imaging and also better soundstage, and also better overall presentation when I'm hearing movies or maybe some very difficult sound that has a lot of elements. I still hear them more separated in the IEMs like the Moondrop S8 or the Clairvoyance. But talking about actual extension and reality, how real they sound, for me still this, in terms of details, actually you get somehow better resolution and details on this Sennheiser IE900 because you got better extension from top to bottom rather than the S8 or Clairvoyance. The Clairvoyance treble feels kinda soft sometimes. This one gets have better treble extension and better sparkle. It just doesn't have that imaging and position as good as those IEM. But in terms of extension and naturalness and overall timbre and coherency, I like this better. But yeah, maybe for you who like soundstage, you will not go to here. You will go maybe Clairvoyance is an easier choice. But yeah, in terms of personal preference, I would definitely pick this Sennheiser Ie600. And how is it compared to some of my other IEMs? So yeah, I'm not gonna compare them with this Timeless or the Shure S12 because it's simply ahead of those two. It got better overall tonal balance, better timbre also, and also better resolution. And I'm not gonna compare them with the Tangible Oxygen also. Tangible Oxygen is, because of this Ie600, maybe I could let go of my Tangible Oxygen. And then going, how is it compared to maybe its own brothers like the IE300 or the IE900? The IE300 is somehow feels like it's more bass focused when I'm comparing them. The IE300 has longer decay that somehow makes the bass feels thicker and also slower, but you get a bigger slam that might satisfy if you are a bass head. But in terms of resolution, balancing in tonals, I find that IE600 is definitely just a league above the IE300. And if you are comparing them with the IE900, which is its more expensive and bigger brother, the IE900 actually for me has better imaging and positioning, also soundstage. But in terms of balancing, I feel like the IE900 is still more recessed in the mid-range, but in this IE600 I get more balanced presentation of the mid-range. That's why I said, even though I still have this IE600, I'm not gonna lie, if I have more money I will buy the IE900, but I will not sell this IE600 because they are different beasts. The IE900 has maybe better wow effect because of that soundstage and positioning and that very good bass slam. But this IE600, I would argue that this IE600 is simply a more all-rounder one. So yeah, back again. Overall, amongst all of the IEMs that I've ever tried, because I have personal preference towards naturality rather than naturality and extension, also coherency rather than some technical and separation. For me, this IE600, it just fits my personal taste really good. And even though I have this IR M9 from the Sony that actually costs $1,000, it's more expensive, and I will still gonna rate in my objective view that the M9 is still better choice because it has better imaging and positioning, and yeah, overall just better technicality. But personally, I still feel that this IE600 is just suit my preference better. So I like this better, but I would rate this IR-M9 better. So I hope you understand my review. It's definitely not the best for everyone. I'm not saying that this is the best IM in the world. I'm not gonna say that. But right now, it is the IM that I like the most. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you have any question, please write down in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye bye.